So we are now officially a week into the offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, as we're coming off a playoff appearance. We're coming off another playoff loss. And for a little bit, I was kind of concerned that the Steelers would just sit on their hands and do nothing about the things that they did, where it was like, oh, Eddie Faulkner and Mike Sullivan are still going to be, sharing the offensive coordinating roles. But that isn't the case because we know the type of head coach that Mike Tomlin is, where he's very stubborn and he likes to just have his own personnel be with his coaching staff. But, if there's one way that Tomlin can start for me to have newfound faith in him again, because yinz guys know how I was on my old channel with him. But if there's one way for me to redeem my thoughts on Tomlin, it's that he needs to go outside the organization and look for new personnel. And that's exactly what the Steelers are doing right now. What's going on, everybody? I am Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram, link in the box below. So, remember this time last year, maybe around this time last year, a week or so, I was sitting down here talking about how I wanted Frank Reich as the Steelers offensive coordinator, and I still kind of do, because Frank Reich, very good offensive mind, works very well with quarterbacks. He was the quarterback that conducted the comeback for the Buffalo Bills in January of '93 against the then Houston Oilers. And while he may not be a very good head coach, I think he is a very good OC, but I think he's off the table for that because I think he's going to be looking for a head coaching job. But what was the one thing that I kept saying about Frank Reich coming on over to Pittsburgh? The very least that the Steelers can do is call him up, ask him to be interviewed, and the very worst that he can say is thanks but no thanks. And the Steelers didn't do that with him. Now, they're doing something with it because Zac Robinson, currently the Los Angeles Rams head coach, and if you tuned into my video about my top 10 replacements for Mike Tomlin, Zac Robinson was one of the candidates. So, did my video, was it not in vain? Did they hear what I had to say? Maybe they did. I don't know. But the point is, the Steelers have requested to interview Zac Robinson, and they're going to interview him for an offensive coordinating job. And I'm excited about this, man, because I really like Zac Robinson. Obviously, anyone under that Sean McVay tree that's out there in LA, I think is bound to have great success in this league. So, yeah, I mean, as far as head coaching goes, Tomlin's off the table for it because he's coming back. But at the very least, he's going outside the franchise to find new personnel for the Steelers. Now, I do have another guy in mind who I'd like to see at offensive coordinator for the Steelers. That's Eric Bieniemy. So let's talk about him for a little bit before I talk about my thoughts on Zac Robinson. So the thing about Eric Bieniemy is that he left Kansas City's offense after winning another Super Bowl with the Chiefs, and he left for Washington. And I think the reason why is that he got paid for it, but you gotta wonder if it was worth the price, where he was making those targets and a quarterback like Sam Howell look serviceable, because they were putting up points and they were putting up yardage for a good portion of the season. And I think Eric Bieniemy would be a pretty good addition for Mike Tomlin, because I think it benefits him. You guys just know how the Rooneys are when it comes to the Rooney Rule and how it comes to minorities and stuff like that. So I really do think Eric Bieniemy would be a good candidate for offensive coordinators. But I think he's waiting more for a head coaching job. But it couldn't be, it couldn't hurt the Steelers for an interview with him at the very least. I think, like I said, it could kind of be like a Frank Reich situation where it's like, hey, you want to come on over to Pittsburgh? We'll interview you. We'll interview you for an offensive coordinator job. Very worst that can happen is that he says thanks, but no thanks. But that's Eric Bieniemy for me. But now let's talk about Zac Robinson. So, like I said, most of Sean McVay's disciples have had really good success in the NFL. I mean, just look at Matt LaFleur, look at Shane Waldron, who just got hired by Chicago to be their offensive coordinator. And the thing I like best about Zac Robinson is that he runs a third-generation West Coast offense. That Rams offense that was in a downward spiral going into this season, well, they only turned in one of the best offenses in the league, and they were top 10 in most categories this year except for giveaways. I think they were 22nd in that category this year. But still, I mean, you're looking at an offense that's very personnel heavy. He likes to run a lot of those 11 players right there, so you're going to be seeing a lot of 3 wide receivers, 1 running back sets right there, and I think that's going to be very beneficial considering that, we got George Pickens. I think if Deontay Johnson comes back, I think he needs to really step things up a little bit here. And, of course, you got a veteran like Allen Robinson as well who's going to carry that load. And if you have to take one out, we're definitely going to be using Pat Freiermuth a lot. And then, of course, you got the guy in the backfield, stepping up his confidence there. So you're going to be seeing a lot of that if Zac Robinson comes here. The outside zone, that's going to be a big key component as well. So you're really focusing on a lot of running backs who can cut up the middle, who can make those cuts. And I think that's going to be very beneficial for this run game, more specifically Jaylen Warren, because I think he just has more of that pop that Najee doesn't have, while Najee's just more of physical and downhill. But still, outside zone is definitely something that you're going to be getting if Robinson comes here. And this is what I really like. The play-action bootlegs, creating the floods. I think that's going to be beneficial. Because while I may not agree with it, while I don't think he's the guy, and so do a lot of other Steeler fans, but we just know how Mike Tomlin is when it comes to the QB situation. If the Steelers are dead serious and they are set that Kenny Pickett is the quarterback going forward, okay, that is an if. If they're serious about it, I think the play-action bootlegs would be beneficial for him. Because he didn't look comfortable under Matt Canada's offense. He didn't feel comfortable. It looked like he didn't feel comfortable driving down the length of the field for it. But then you get a guy like Zac Robinson who can incorporate stuff like that. And that's his bread and butter when it comes to the QB play, where you can utilize his legs and you can utilize Kenny Pickett's strengths that he has, because we know that he can use his legs. We know that he has maneuverability in the pocket. We know that he can pick up first downs on QB sneaks. So that's why I say if he's going to be out there starting the game, use the guy's strengths, which is his legs. Incorporate those bootleg play-action plays, and that's something that Zac Robinson's been a very high advocate for. So yeah, the Steelers are in the process of interviewing Zac Robinson, and I hope the best. Me personally, I would love Zac Robinson to be our new OC. I think he works very well with quarterbacks. I think he has a very good offensive mind. The only thing that really concerns me about this is that if he has immediate success in Pittsburgh, I think a lot of other teams are going to be knocking on our door about taking him away from us for a head coaching job. So then we're going to be right back to where we were with needing to find another OC. But definitely, I would love it if Zac Robinson got hired by the Steelers and he became our new OC. But let me know what yinz think down in the comments below, man. Steelers are actually making some change, and they're not doing an in-house promotion, at least not right now. This is Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.